Attorneys. Joining me now, David Leopold, former president of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, and Cecillia Wang, deputy legal director of the ACLU. Good day to both of you.
Good afternoon.
Cecillia, I'll start with you right now. We have the State Department and Department of Homeland Security saying they are stopping the implementation of this executive order. We also have the Justice Department, or the Department of Justice, saying it intends to file a motion for an emergency stay and defend the executive order. What's going on here?
Well, the short story is that the chaos that has come out of the White House continues. As the Washington Post reported earlier today, the Secretary of Homeland Security and the Secretary of State, the two key cabinet-level officials involved in the implementation of this executive order, were not consulted about the order beforehand, and now apparently are trying to play catch-up with the White House. In the meantime, countless people, both visa holders and refugees and initially lawful permanent residents of the United States, have been affected. I think this was a deliberate effort by the White House to roll out an order with no plan and to unleash Customs and Border Protection officials to do what they wished, to interfere with both Americans and immigrants and visitors who are trying to come to the United States lawfully.
David, when can we see the Department of Justice file a motion for this emergency stay?
Well, I would expect you'd see the Department of Justice file a motion rather quickly, but you know, this is an incredible 2 weeks. What have we seen for the first 2 weeks of the President Trump's term? We've seen a deliberate spreading of instability, of havoc. He's wreaked havoc in the airports. He's wreaked havoc overseas. He's insulted our allies. This is not how a president should be governing. We need a president who promotes the rule of law, doesn't tweet at a federal judge calling him a so-called judge. You know, and the thing is, we can't normalize this. I heard it said before that, well, this is something we're used to. President Trump likes to use Twitter. No, it's not normal, and we should not normalize this. This is absolutely un-American to ban people based on their religion. It's absolutely in violation of everything we think about to ban people from the country because they're Muslim.
I don't want to cut you off here, but here's the reality of it. I think we're tap dancing with it, and a lot of people struggle with it because whether it's normal or not, it's affecting people's lives, and it's affecting families all over the world. So we almost have to talk about it as if, listen, because this is what's happening, and it's affecting the law. It would be different if it was in a vacuum and he's tweeting and nothing is happening, there's no effect. But it's huge. So, Cecillia, I said it earlier, I was talking with our justice correspondent, Pete Williams, and I joked with him. I said it made my brain hurt. But it's true. It's nauseating. I mean, it's hard to understand the immediate effect. If you're just, an everyday person, you can't keep up with what's going on.
That's right, and apparently people within Donald Trump's administration also can't keep up with what's going on, and that's the problem. That's why we lawyers and we the people will continue the fight and continue the litigation and continue to show up at the airports and the streets to show our resistance to what President Trump is trying to do. As David said, he came out in the campaign period to say he wanted to discriminate against Muslims in immigration. He has now done that. He's gone back and forth on whether this is a ban or not. He now apparently admits in his tweets that it is a ban, and while he's disparaging the judge. So the fight's going to continue. As you mentioned, the Trump administration has said they will file some kind of action in the Ninth Circuit and the U.S. Court of Appeals to try to put a block on the district court order coming out of Seattle. So we'll expect more litigation and more action around the country.
David, let's focus on the legal aspect of this. You've seen the impact of this ban on your clients. What has this past week been like for them?
Well, look, clients, whether they're citizens, whether they're non-citizens, this has spread fear. I have actually had discussions with clients of mine who are citizens of the United States, who are contributing, who are making a great life here and been here for years and are citizens, but happen to have a passport from one of the 7 countries, and they are fearful. And I'll tell you what, I never imagined as an attorney that I would have to counsel a United States citizen about traveling abroad. A United States citizen who is contributing. This is an absolutely awful situation that the president has put the country in. And I think what we need to do is we need to take a step back. You're right. This needs to be talked about. This needs to be fought. And you can see that the federal judges around the country, whether it's in New York, whether it's in Los Angeles, and last night in Seattle, federal judges are standing up to this. The courts are standing up to this. We've seen heroic lawyers from the ACLU, from the National Immigration Law Center, from the American Immigration Lawyers Association go and fight Donald Trump and fight this illegal executive order in court and in the airports and provide representation, and we need to keep it up. It's absolutely true. We cannot allow.
Just for the sake of time, can you, I guess it's simply put, tell us what's next logistically, because there are so many people who are frankly confused.
And they're right to be confused given the chaos that's come out of the Trump administration. Right now, the federal court order coming out of Seattle, Washington State, puts a nationwide block on all the operative provisions of President Trump's Muslim ban, both as to visa holders and as to refugees. Now, we've heard the reports that CBP, the federal agency, has instructed airlines to go ahead and board passengers, that people who have visas that were revoked by this document, apparently or purportedly dated January 27th, will now be permitted to use those visas. However, people who actually had their visas stamped canceled physically will need to reapply. On the other side of things, with the refugee ban, we still don't have a clear picture on whether all of the hundreds of people who were passing security clearances, who had waited years to be resettled as refugees in this country, will be rescheduled to arrive. So we'll be looking to our partners in the refugee resettlement organizations to report on what's happening there.
I only have a few seconds left. Really quickly, you mentioned, I have to ask you this, you mentioned if you had that stamp on your visa and it's revoked and you have to go through that process again, would you have to wait years again just because yours was stamped and now it was a mistake, so to speak? Cecilia?
I think it remains to be seen.
Right, it's difficult to say, but you know that visa, if it was physically canceled, like last week, or anywhere else, it shouldn't have been physically canceled. So people need to people need to get proper advice before they get on planes and before they go to consulates from attorneys.
David Leopold, Cecillia Wang, convoluted conversation or confusing conversation, but you guys made it as easy as possible, if that makes any sense. As simply put as you could. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chanel.
He's President Trump's chief strategist, but why did a New York Times article question whether he's more like the de facto president? I'll put that question to a former member of the Trump transition team in just a bit.